Guy, thank you very much for joining us today on the Interview with Experts video and podcast series.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, good to see you back as well. For those of you listening, Guy joined us in the second ever episode of Interviews with Experts, where he talked about the importance of personal branding. And one of the things that we covered in that conversation was the importance of blogging. And Guy's back today. We're going to break that down in a bit more detail and talk about how important blogs are for building your personal brand, building your business.
That sounds good, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so just to reintroduce you, Guy, Guy is a several times author, and more to be revealed on that soon. Guy is a blogger, he's an entrepreneur and an investor. I think, have I got everything, or is there more?
There's probably loads more, but that covers a lot of it.
Yeah, several strings to your bow. Okay, perfect. Well, to go straight in then, Guy, we're talking about blogs. You've used blogs in different ways in various businesses that you're involved with. Could you start with telling us about the time when you first came across blogging as a business tool?
Sure. So, as people who have read my blogs will kind of know this story. So I'm sorry for repeating myself, but for those of the new listeners of your podcast, then I ran a company for 17 years called Cake Solutions. Cake kind of evolved the way that it worked, and it had, at the time, a relatively unique way of marketing itself. And it focused on all the things that your company does, actually, which is content, expert content generation. So we kind of built notoriety by working, putting content out in a number of formats. Across a number of platforms, and even since then, actually, we're talking probably going back 15 years when we started this process. So things have moved on since then. So really, podcasts weren't really a thing then. So, obviously, we're doing a podcast now. So things evolve, and you just have to move with the times and make sure you're making use of any new platforms that come along. So we did things like, obviously, blogging was a key part. Actually, the first thing we did was write books. So before blogs were a thing, we wrote books. We spoke at conferences, and when I say we, it was actually my team, because they're the experts, not me. They are the software engineers. They work on the projects. They've got so much good stuff to say that resonates with our community. And I think community is an important point, which I'm sure we'll come back to at some point, because blogging is a way of connecting with your community and connecting with your potential clients. I've talked about a number of ways that we promoted ourselves, and I think today we're going to talk a little bit more in a bit more detail about blogs. We started actually with one person, our CTO, and he began to write blogs about some of the experiments that he was running, and it kind of caught people's imagination. People enjoyed reading about what he was doing and why he was doing it and what he was trying to achieve. And he began to generate a following, and we kind of picked up on that and started to encourage the rest of the team, as many people as want to do. Not everyone wants to do this, right? But those that do, those that want to effectively build their own personal brand, which is what they're doing, we encourage them to do that, because what happened was there was a direct correlation between their notoriety in the community and the company's notoriety in the community. They go hand in hand. So, I think it's more authentic coming from people. So people blogging about the personal experiences is far more authentic than people writing on behalf of a company. And you don't need to worry, because the company will be noticed. People look at who they work for. When they read maybe a little footer note at the bottom of each blog, it will say that, Joe Blogs works for XYZ company, and that's all it needs. And that's an important point. Blogs, I don't think, should be salesy. They should be genuinely useful for people, because it's salesy, you'll lose. You won't build a following, never mind lose a following, and you potentially will alienate people. Whereas if you're putting useful stuff out there, people value that, they appreciate it, and that's a good thing. And that's a good thing for the blogger and for the company. So, Cake ended up having quite a number. We baked it into our culture. One of the big things we wanted to do was provide a platform which we could for our team to build their own personal brand. And blogging was the single biggest part of that.
It's interesting you say it's the single biggest part of it, and it became this such a big platform for not just for you personally, but like you say, the team and the entire company. Can you give us an idea of what that looks like in terms of like any numbers? How many blogs did you write? What kind of traffic were you getting?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So, we started, I can't remember the exact figures we started on, but really, you literally start at zero, let's face it, when you're doing blogs. But what I can tell you is, we started to look at this when it became interesting. We started to build, first of all, hundreds, then into the thousands. And really, after, cut long story short, after 5 years, we attracted, on average, 50,000 plus visits to our website, which was almost entirely the blogs, every single month. So it was huge. And over the years, we over the 5-year period, we downloaded the blogs in the end, actually, because we had to move platforms. Long story, but anyway, we found out we'd written 700 blogs over those 5 years as an organisation. So we were pretty prolific without realising it, and that's the point, It was an automatic big thing in the company. We didn't have to force the issue. It wasn't a painful exercise. It becomes part and parcel of your working day, and actually people enjoy it and derive a personal benefit from it. So quite often people will do some of this in their own time as well as in the company time. So there's a balance to be had about how you do these things. And I think one other important thing that we did from a blogging point of view, which really accelerated those numbers, was and this is effectively my top tip for the day. We produced something what I call an aggregation blog. So it wasn't us producing expert content, but what we did was one of our team, and it was different people over the years, they trawled the internet every week, probably spent 4 or 5 hours doing it properly, reading various articles about the sector that we worked in and the stuff that we specialised in, picked out the most interesting blogs and put them into an aggregation email. We then, an aggregation blog, and then we marketed it using email marketing, which has a place even now. And we put it out over social media, and people read the blog, and people really appreciated that because it saved them the same amount of hours in researching and looking for relevant information. We summarised it, and again, I think in our sector, this was one of the first companies to do that. It's a bit more common now, but it's still, I would imagine, a very useful way of building the amount of traffic, relevant traffic that comes to your blog.
Yeah, that's incredible. A really smart strategy. I think as well. So I just did just got my calculator out while you were explaining that, and just also did the maths on the 700 blogs over a 5-year period. So that's 140 blogs a year, which works out at 2.6 blogs a week. I guess you could say 2 blogs a week. Maybe sometimes you did 3. And like you said, you had members of the team spending a few hours a week on getting that content together. So what that shows is it's a genuine, it's an investment. It's not a nice to have or if someone's got time. Are you saying it's well worth having somebody or people dedicating some regular time to making it work?
Yeah, it's funny. You're asking me these questions, and I actually did some notes before, and all the questions you're asking are exactly in the same order that I've got these in, which is great. It means we're on the same page. So yeah, I mean, there's huge benefits from doing this, and the bottom line was we as a company we built a multi-million-pound international company without a sales team, and actually with just one person that was responsible for customer inquiries, and that's the point. We had inbound inquiries from customers, so we generated sales, all our sales in the end. There was a mix of things, but it was all based around content, expert content sharing, of which the blogs was a major part of that. We also did one advert in our world. It was with a platform called Stack Overflow, where engineers go and ask questions, and other engineers help them and answer. It's a community-based platform, and we used that as well. That was the only paid-for advert that we ever did. We never used recruiters to hire permanent staff. That was a massive saving. So we increased sales. We're able to charge a higher day rate because over time we built our credibility to the point that we were seen as, other than the actual company that built the technology that we were using, we were seen as the experts in that particular area, because we built our presence in the community and our presence in that sector to the point that we were almost the de facto experts, other than the actual custodians of the programming language and the components and frameworks themselves. So we had no sales team. We didn't have a marketing team per se. We did do marketing clearly, but it was literally just using various tools that push this expert content over the various platforms. So we automated that as much as we could. We used HubSpot as a side. And another massive strategic byproduct was that as well as incoming sales calls, we had incoming inquiries from people who wanted to work for us. So recruitment wasn't an issue. People enjoyed the fact that so many of our team wrote blogs and appeared at conferences and spoke at user groups and all that kind of good stuff, that they thought, we want to be part of this. And on top of that, we were able to talk about some fairly difficult problems that we were solving for our clients without giving important IP information away. That was never our aim. We talked very generally, didn't talk about clients specifically, but with the consent of our clients, we wrote about some of the tough technical problems that we were solving, and that helps everybody. So, but the net result of all this was the bottom line was very healthy. So, over a 17-year period and 6 years of high growth, we actually didn't need any external investment. We built enough cash up in the business to fund our growth and do whatever we needed to do to keep moving forward. And then finally, the point I'd like to make is as well that, and again, this wasn't really an aim, this was just a strategic byproduct of doing all this. It turned out that the company that came in and eventually acquired us had been following us for a number of years, and so we got the acquirer came through on the back of the fact they'd seen a couple of our guys speak at a conference and they followed the blogs, and so that happened. And we also had other inquiries again in terms of acquisition, one really meaningful one, but and a few that weren't quite as meaningful. So it really works. So loads of benefits from doing it, loads. I can't emphasize it enough. And actually, part of my role now is educating other companies, and you can see that from my own blogs, that this is a really modern way of marketing. That long gone are the days where you pay for adverts in paper-based publications and those kind of things. Maybe they have a very small place, but I'm not sure you need them now. And I think by sharing your knowledge, that is a really cool way of promoting yourself.
That's perfect. Well, thank you so much. That's been so insightful, and really, it's a 15-minute episode, and we just covered so much: how to get 50,000 blog visitors a month, website visitors, how to build a multi-million-pound company without a sales team, going into specifics on, the kind of output that looks like, how much blogging you need to do, and all the other strategic byproducts, including exits and everything else. So that's been incredible. Thanks so much for sharing everything, Guy.
And listen, I really enjoy these chats. Thank you.
Perfect.